This video, I'm going to go over some of my thoughts on marathon race pacing strategies, and then also how to configure watch screens and workout screens to be able to pace most efficiently. So before I get into it, go over a couple disclaimers. First, I'm not a coach, so I'm just going to go over some of the strategies that I use, but if you need additional guidance, I would recommend reaching out to a coach that can give you more pointers or tips based on your fitness levels and what you're trying to accomplish. And then the second disclaimer is that I am partnered with COROS, so I am going to be showing how to set things up on my Pace 3. So this is the COROS Pace 3. All of the screens and settings on the app should be applicable to the other COROS watches and can also be used regardless of what watch model that you are using for your race. All right, the best way to pace a marathon is with even splits all throughout, or even being able to speed up a little bit at the end, which would be a negative split. So I think the best way to do that is to completely remove the instant pace metric from the watch screen and only run to the lap pace. That allows you to get even splits and keep a better eye on what your effort is over a long period of time to help keep it consistent, as opposed to with instant pace, it's a little bit too easy for it to go up and down based on a variety of factors, and then your actual effort or the speed that you're running, you'll be constantly trying to chase something that is a moving target essentially, and then you'll end up using extra energy on places where you shouldn't be using it, and overall running a less efficient race. Okay, so with that, I guess just based on my experience and kind of how I've always set up the watch, is that I will have just a few things showing. So I'll dive into the COROS app now and just take a look at how I configure my watch when I'm going to run a marathon. All right, to start with, go into the profile section on the COROS app, and then choose the watch that you're looking to configure and click on that. Next is on the activity settings page, and I will go into run mode. Within this page there is a section called activity data pages, and that's what I'm going to be looking to change here. So this is how I have my watch screen. This is the main screen that I have set up on my watch. It is pretty simple. It shows only lap pace, overall distance for the run, and then overall time for the run, which I have on the bottom. So to set up a screen like this, you'll click over on the data screen frames and choose 3. That gives 2 larger frames on the top and in the middle, and then the smaller frame along the bottom, which is a good configuration that allows me to show these 3 main screens. Again, the lap pace is on the top. That's over in the pace section. And the default that a lot of people are going to be using, that a lot of watches are set up to show, is current pace. This is the pace that will move down continually as you speed up and slow down in real time. I think that just is a challenge to maintain any kind of constant effort, which is what you want on a marathon. And I find that lap pace is going to be the best way to monitor your effort, but then also have some amount of difference as you go through the race to be able to tell if you are slowing down or speeding up over the long term. And then the second screen I will show is distance, and that's in the distance and elevation gain section right at the top there under total distance. I think that, again, just helpful for me to monitor how far I am through the race. Pretty straightforward. And then the last one in the bottom section is time. This is activity time, which is essentially going to show you how long you have been running. I don't pause my watch, so I think you could show total time or activity time depending on how you like to set up your watch. Maybe it could be different for training and racing, but in general, when I run, I just let it run the whole time, no pauses. So for me, not a really big difference either way. I like keeping the time down on the bottom screen there with the COROS watch. It allows for a easy to read view that includes the hours, minutes, and seconds at all times. So it's a little bit quicker or easier to be able to see everything, as opposed to on some of the bigger screens. The font sizes can change around as you get into like over an hour. It'll be a small number off to the side. When you look at the bottom, very consistent, easy to read. Then the only other screens that I will have depend on kind of how I'm looking to run the race, or if I'm going to be looking for a very specific time. With this one, essentially all I've done is add an additional screen here. So if you go into the data screens view and choose 4 frames, then it splits that middle section into a left and right. So I still have the top section as lap pace, but then the middle 2 sections I have 2 additional ways to look at pace. You might notice here again, I'm not using current pace at all, even in this mode. This second screen that I will have set up allows me to see last lap pace as well as overall average pace. So these can be useful generally if I'm trying to pace someone or pace a group to a very specific time. This last lap pace allows me to see what the pace was on the last lap in case I missed it on the split screen or hadn't looked at it near the end of the mile. So as I'm running through, normally I will just take a quick look at my average pace for that mile, and as I get close to the end I can kind of tell if I'm going to be close or if there's going to be any adjustments needed for the next mile. But if I happen to miss that, it is sometimes nice to look back and see, was I a little bit slow, a little bit fast for that last mile, so that I can help adjust based on my relative effort for the next mile. And then the other screen that I'm adding here on this second one is the average pace. This is helpful when I'm running to a very specific time. So if I'm trying to get someone to a certain qualifying time or a certain goal time, that will help me make sure that overall through the whole race I haven't, drifted slightly below the mark or even, starting to go slightly too quickly. If it is something that it's going to be a challenge for them to hit, want to try to be as close as possible to the mark and not continually run lap or mile over mile just slightly too fast, because that likely is going to cause them to hit the wall. And conversely on the other side, if I run mile over mile slightly too slow, could end up missing the mark. So with using lap pace, I try to keep it as close as possible, but if I am a couple seconds too slow or a couple seconds too fast on any given mile, over the long run that's usually not too big of a deal, but I just don't want it to stack up over and over again. And having the overall average pace is helpful to be able to make sure that I'm staying on track, big picture throughout the entire race. This one then on the bottom, I switched it from overall time to the number of miles that I have run or number of laps that I've run. That can help me just tell how far we are in the race. And then the last one I have, this one I would almost never, probably never at all look at during a race, but sometimes during training I will be interested to see my heart rate in real time, so I do have that screen on here just in case I want to take a peek. And then at the bottom on this one I have the time shown as the time of day instead of the total time within the activity. This is usually just in case I'm trying to get back home to do something else later in the day, and I need to keep an eye on what actual time it is in the day and not have to remember what time did I start and then how long have I been running, and kind of trying to do the math. This just makes it easy for me to tell exactly what time it is and if I need to be turning around and getting back home. So that screen I won't use too often, but it is one that can be useful on some of our workouts. Really kind of back to the main screen is lap pace, distance, and overall time. That's going to be the one I use for probably 95% of my running, is going to be just those 3 fields. And then the second screen that I have set up here is really for race specific, marathon specific, if I am pacing to a very specific time. And then the last one is just a reference screen for some of my training runs can be useful. All right, I think that is it for how I set up my screens and my thought process on how I pace myself through a marathon. So hopefully that was useful, and thank you for watching.